I'm going to throw something out there, and you can laugh at it all you want, but every year I always say there's a best player in the draft. He may not go number one, but he's my lock. My lock is the center for Iowa. And I watched him play 3 or 4 times this year, and I'm like, that's who I want. Iowa puts good NFLers, especially O-line guys and tight ends. If I said to you, Daniel, I'm not saying he's going one, who's the best lock, the best player in the draft, the best pure talent that can't miss?
Wow, that's a loaded question. First of all, Colin, to give you a little scene set here, there's a reason why Jim Irsay was upset at the end of the year, because he's got to pay for these fine walls here inside Lucas Oil Stadium. So he's got to get some return on that investment. But look, to me, I think you look at Kyle Hamilton, the safety from Notre Dame. I haven't seen any bad tape. He's got elite size, got elite speed. The characters is supposed to be off the charts. The intelligence is off the charts. Everybody has that debate. How high do you take a safety? I saw Ed Reed when I was around the Ravens and the impact the safety can have. I see it with Derwin James and the Chargers, the impact he has. I don't necessarily buy into that camp of you can't take a safety up there in the top 10. I think this kid is pretty darn special.
He's on my podcast network, so I just sat down for an hour with Kyle the other day. What's amazing about him, I asked him how much he weighs. I would have guessed 206, 207. He's like 220. He is big. And you would never know it. Like when pro athletes carry weight easily, you're just like, you're 220. Like he is a house. Like he can knock you out. So that's another point about him. So let's talk about these quarterbacks. There's two, I think. I haven't seen a ton of film. I watch Pickett a lot. I think the ceiling, I don't know what the ceiling is. And then the Willis kid, who's just big and ripped and has a power arm and all this stuff. But let me concentrate on Pickett because I've seen him a lot. 3 years. Here's my concern. And I say this in college basketball. If you stay for a third year in college basketball, Daniel, I'm not interested. Your ceiling's, I don't care what you are. You're Victor Oladipo. Could be a good player. You're not going to be a star. If you don't pop until your 5th year of college as a quarterback, I'm like watching Bryce Young. I'm watching Caleb Williams. I'm like 5th year, 5th game. Kenny Pickett, what's the ceiling? I mean, I look at him and I'm like, why did it take so long for him to be great in college?
Yeah, it's a good point. Look, he's not Joe Burrow, but we heard some of those similar arguments with Joe Burrow taking that big leap in his last year. Some guys' timelines are different. And I think when you mix in the pandemic, you mix in an injury that he had last year, I think that can explain some of these things. But yeah, I mean, everybody's timeline is a little different. I would agree with you in the sense that I don't know that the ceiling is ridiculously high with him. As a thrower of the football, he reminded me a little bit of Hasselbeck, and Matt had a really good
that's
career.
Interesting. Yeah,
so that's kind of who I envision of what you're hoping he's going to be. Now he's a good athlete; he can move around, but again, it's fit, right? If you get him and he plays indoors in New Orleans, and it's just get the ball out of your hand, make good decisions, be smart, be accurate, I think he's got a chance to be wildly successful. But I don't know that necessarily he's somebody that's going to fit each and every team.
Yeah. By the way, wide receivers over the last couple of years, it's becoming more of a wide receiver league. It's a weapons league. It's why Bill Belichick suddenly looks mortal, is he's got a young quarterback and not great weapons. Is there a receiver of note to you that, and boy, last year, Jalen Waddle was big, Devontae Smith. Yeah. These Alabama guys are good. Is there Justin Jefferson has been unbelievable. Jamar Chase. Do we have something like that this year, like a pop year one impact guy?
I think so. To me, it's Garrett Wilson on there at Ohio State. This has been a wideout factory. And when you think about Jamison Williams not necessarily having a role in that receiver group, that's just how ridiculous they've been at developing that position. There with Brian Hartline coaching up those wideouts. But this kid can do everything. Colin, I'm big on wideouts, and Bucky and I have been talking about this, about play strength. When you look at the best wideouts in the NFL right now, the way the game is played, and you saw it with Cooper Kupp, you've seen it with Deebo Samuel, you see it with Adams, all these guys, they play strong. I don't care how big you are, but you got to have play strength. And to me, Garrett Wilson has tremendous play strength. I think he's going to run really fast out here at the Combine this week. And he's a pure route runner. So I'm with you on kind of the team building side of things, the offensive line. I've kind of adopted the philosophy of no tomato cans. Okay. And Joy knows this. We talked about it on Thursday nights all the time. I don't need 5 Tony Basellis. I just need 0 tomato cans. and then I'll put a bunch of weapons, and we'll go out and win a bunch of football games.
I want to ask you an NFL question because you're on the Chargers broadcast. You've been a scout 3 times. You know how front offices think. Today, the Arizona Cardinals owner, the Cardinals, announced we signed the GM and the coach the new contracts, which to me was sending a big message. Don't push us around. That was a message to me is we know you're unhappy, but these guys now have a longer commitment than you do. What do you make of Larry Fitzgerald's dad, the press release by the agent, all the smoke? What do you make of the Arizona situation with Kyler Murray?
Well, first of all, here's some irony for you. I went on our buddy Rich Eisen's show the other day, and I talked about how I didn't understand this letter and what they're trying to accomplish here. It didn't make any sense to me. And then I get on my plane to go to the combine, and sitting right behind me is Eric Burkhart, Kyler Murray's agent. So I was like, you could not script that any better. But we had a chance to have a good conversation there. Look, I think it's an aggressive play on their side. They're trying to force something to get done. I know that Keim really likes Kyler Murray. I know Cliff Kingsbury obviously took that job and was, that was kind of his handpicked guy. So I think they support him. I think there's definitely, I think it's going to be fascinating to see how much they're willing to pay him and whether or not he's going to get what he's after. That's what this is all going to come down to. I'm curious to follow this to see where the next steps are, Colin.
I got to ask you, Rams, Sean McVay, Les Snead, we're not going to the combine. Kyle Shanahan, we're not going to the combine. Some of these young, brilliant coaches. I will say this. Sean McVay came out and said, I'm not playing any of my starters in preseason. Everybody went, you're crazy. Now a lot of people copying that. He's been like, the Rams have been like, forget first rounders. We're not into the first round business. We'll fill all our holes, second, third, fourth. We'll go get stars. What do you make of this combine? Joy and I talked about this. Is the combine increasingly less relevant? Is game tape matter more now than ever? Is the combine, guys go there, it's paralysis by analysis. You talk yourself into stuff that you shouldn't based on tape. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think you got to be careful and kind of put it in its proper context. But I still think there's value here. I really do. I think, look, if you were going to hire somebody to work for you, Colin, I think the more times you get a chance to be around that person, you're going to have a greater chance of hiring the right person and, more importantly, maybe not hiring the wrong person. So anytime you get a chance to be around these kids, and whether that's the 15 minutes you get in the interview, whether it's observing them on the field in a workout and how they interact with one another, I think there's value to be gained there. But I do think it's always been about the game tape in terms of the priority. How do they play there? Now we have all the GPS data, so you can find out the authentic speeds, the game speeds that these guys have. So there's never been more information outside of the combine than we have now. But I'm a believer in getting a chance to be around these kids just as much as you possibly can.
Good stuff, Daniel Jeremiah. By the way, 8.5-hour edition of NFL Game Day Morning, Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern, NFL Network, all this combine stuff. I know folks love it. There you go. Good seeing you, my man.
Good to see you, buddy.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.